Seems my beauty has you stunned.
The rant video is upon us. Unfortunately, many of my points that I was gonna say in the last rant video qualify as hate speech, as not only do I shit on Epic 7, but I even talk about other content creators, and unfortunately it seems like name dropping a few results in hate speech, so it is what it is. Now, I was gonna say the game lives in eternal perpetuality. What do I mean by that? Well, the game was kind of the same forever. Now, fortunately, they're addressing this. I mean, this is an entirely different game. Like, what do you mean catalysts aren't real anymore? They're replaced with a better system, which begs the question, why wasn't this in the beginning of the game? Now, one thing I will say, the UI feels a
On
little
days
weird to
like
interact
today,
with.
a glass.
Like, you open this, I'm not sure where the creativity has went. I kind of missed the maps. I wish there was a toggle for it. But it is what it is. Epic 7, or should I say Epic 6, is an interesting game. It's a different spin and I like it. Now, how far I'll make it into Epic 6, that is interesting. Because I really do feel like, in the recent video they made, that there is some passion left. You know, I have some hope that maybe, just maybe, we can fix the game. However, that is the game itself. I have no interest in PvE. I think PvE is one of the most boring aspects of Epic 7. Once you realize everything is tuned in a way that there's no variety, the game becomes boring quickly. Because really, what is the game? It's just four turn cooldowns, 3 turn cooldowns, 2 turn cooldowns. That's it. That's the entire game. And so after turn 8 and 9, in PvE anyways, you're basically repeating the same cycle, begging for 15% to not occur. Does that make sense? You know, like there's so much your there's so much your Ross Politis can do in Golem. There's so much your Sigret Furious Brig can do in Golem, so on and so forth. So I think PvE is just one of the most boring stuff in the game. The story fell off, but hey, I have hopes for Epic 6. You know, Epic 6 surely can save us from Episode 4 and Episode 5. Like, oh boy, the story writing of Episode 4 and Episode 5? My god, who writes this stuff? But again, we're here for the PvP, the thing I refuse to talk about. Because again, if you really want to summarize majority of my points, just open the last rant video I said, and like 80% of what I said still applies. You're playing the same exact game, nothing has changed, and they keep releasing end-all be-all units. What do I mean by end-all be-all units? Now let's say, hypothetically, you're a cleaver, alright? You might not enjoy units like Bellion, you might not enjoy units like Moonlight Ilanov, and the like. Alright? Now, you pre-ban Bellion, however, you still have to deal with ML Ilanov if she's picked. God forbid, she's protected. There you go, you can no longer cleave, because there's no such thing as pure base damage cleave. You have to resort to buffs, debuffs, you have to resort to penetrating the enemy's defense, you have to resort to bypassing rules. That's how cleave works, you know? ML Pavel, you just crit twice and he gets his extra attack 50% CR. You have to use ML Ludwig, who you have to spam so many soul burns that you keep pushing up, so on and so forth. Now, do I think cleave needs to be the strongest? No. I think a strong cleave player should be smart enough. However, given how the game is very gear reliant, unfortunately that's not realistic. You know, it's just like my account. All I do is just use this Ron and this Ron only. What else can the other player do? Nothing. Now, back then in the Conqueror Lilius days, obviously the fastest units were Ron, Conqueror Lilius. There's no other contesters. Like, sure, you can argue Sid, Assassin Sid, K-Ron has the highest base speed in the game, and the like. However, that was simply just not the case. No one built a 300 speed K-Ron, or at least very little people did. And the ones that did got countered by immunity set, so on and so forth. And so, Ron, Conqueror Lilius, back then were end-alls be-alls. You use S3 with Ron, S2, S3, and boom, your Caesarea pushes, and then the Caesarea pushes the Ida, GG well played. There's nothing you can do. Obviously, they introduced counters later, but that's besides the point. Now, the other thing was Conqueror Lilius. For the longest time, another end-all be-all unit. Not only does she cripple you with reduced attack, because back then we didn't have as many HP scalers, right? And so she would use her S3, and boom! Suddenly everyone has Vigor buff, so they take way less damage. Your units have attack down, so you're crippled. And her S2 was basically a stun with that redirect provoke, plus a pushback, because she definitely needed the pushback. The fact Conqueror Lilius looks so horrible by today's standards should be telling where the game was headed. Like Angel of Light prevented you from using AoE attacks, and Bellion just straight up killed the playstyle. However, you could always pre-ban them. And that's the issue. Now, let's say you want to use units that rely on focus fighting spirit. Well, it's no longer enough if you want to pre-ban Politis, because guess what? They buffed Lidica. Oh my god, your meta? Ain't no way. Now this unit presses S2, and boom. There you go. It's over. You what can I say? What can I say? You can no longer play focus units because they just pick Solitario, they just pick ML Politis. Well, you pre-ban those, never mind. Lidica exists, Eligos exists, so on and so forth. You know, units like Zahak and units like that one green knight. Who was she again? This one, Falcon or Clury. You know, units that were designed with the niche of reducing resources kind of just sit there and do nothing. They buff the wrong units to do those things. And so, you know, to have these units cancel entire playstyles simply by existing is just so annoying. Like, it's already annoying that I have to deal with Harseti. Now they're releasing ML Arunka, who just by standing, just by existing, I have to abide by her laws. Now, I know Arunka isn't out yet, but like you can imagine why it's annoying. What do you mean that simply by entering the game, I lost all my souls because the enemy has a Bellion? What do you mean that simply by entering the game, I can no longer target anyone except Emil Arunka, but use AoEs? Well, let's think of the viable AoEs. If you try to debuff, they have Soul Weavers. If you try to reset, Laya exists. If you try to use AoEs, it doesn't work. You have to somehow dispel all the enemy's immunities, defense break them, and then nuke them with something like a Rage Set Strays or a BBK, God forbid. You know what I mean? It's no longer enough to just play the game normally. You cannot do that. It's crazy. Now, I can give ML Ilinov a pass if it's just ML Ilinov. You know what I mean? However, with the new Arunka, if you want to cleave, if you want to do damage, you may as well just delete your Pavel. I love this unit. I love Pavel with a passion, but he's just unplayable. Another unit I love but couldn't play because I got him so late is Cowrick. It took me forever to get this guy, and when I got him, he's already power crept. What can I do? At no point was Ball and Cezanne relevant. At no point was Melissa relevant. At no point were some of my units who I wanted to try out, right? At no point were they relevant. They were only relevant either immediately after their buff or immediately after their release. At some point, they just stop existing. They stop working. And they realized this with this unit. I hate Lionheart Shermia with a passion. However, at some point after the haste changes, after introducing Genua, after creating units that are anti-fighting spirit, they realized, hold on, this unit's dead. So they just removed the fighting spirit thing entirely. Bro, I'm telling you, if fighting spirit and focus were good mechanics, they would not remove them. Look at DDR. What was the thing holding him back? Focus. They just let his S3 rip turn 1, broken unit. What did Shuna do? When Shuna was buffed, all they did is just make it so that you can S3 turn 1 without having to collect focus. Boom, broken unit. And so on and so forth. There's multiple examples of this. And it's just disappointing when you realize it, you know what I mean? So now, as an Epic 7 player who wants to play the game normally, whatever that means anymore, You have to worry that enemy might pick ML Luna, Soulburn's S3, game unplayable. You might have to worry that, okay, I pre-banned Zeo Ron, the fastest 2 units in the game. Enemy picked Arcity. Enemy picked ML Pyrrha. Enemy picked ML Politis. Like, at least Conquer Lilius had counters. Like, Moon Bunny was a good unit because Conquer Lilius was a good unit. And now Moon Bunny is just dead. She's not a real unit. Because guess what? The unit she's meant to counter is dog shit. It's so disappointing. You cannot play Dominial into the new whatever. What was the unit? Into the new Pyrrha. It just doesn't work that way. But actually, yeah, you see, Pyrrha doesn't debuff, so the skill nullifiers, the cleanse on the immunity doesn't serve a purpose. I'm with you on that, except what are you supposed to do about it? Like, Pyrrha is just gonna soul burn S1. There goes the skill nullifier. Just gonna use S3, and the enemies are gonna loop you so fast. The skill nullifiers don't matter. Like, yes, Dominion still counters Conquer Lilius. I get that, but we're so past the point where Lilius is relevant that this unit became irrelevant, and I still have her geared for some reason. Like, yes, it's inferior geared compared to what it used to be, but like, you see what I mean? A unit you used is irrelevant because another unit is irrelevant. That is crazy. So now, if I don't want to deal with these fast turn 1 units, Zioron, path A, you go Arunka, ML Ulanov, Laya, and the like, Benya and Haste and whatever anti-cleave units exist. Or, actually there is no or. If you ban Zioron, pre-ban I mean, there's still Harseti, who, neutralizes speed. There is still the threat of the enemy picking ML Politis. There is still the threat of enemy picking ML Pyrrha. And let's say ban protection didn't exist. You could XT at least ban that thing. Well, what happens if they ban protect that? What do? You just kind of sit there and do nothing, huh? It is what it is. And again, I really do not want to speak more, otherwise this video gets marked as hate speech. But I will say, part of the reason why Epic 7 declined isn't just Epic 7 itself, not just the gameplay being stale. I think, and some people might get sensitive with what I'm about to say, but we all suck. That is the genuine, honest truth. When the enemy plays bad strategies that just, they just slap not ML. Actually, they just slap ML BBK, they just slap a Genua, they just slap an ML Haste, they just slap that one ice unit, was it Amiki? Let me double check. They just slap an Amiki, or back in the days, they just slap a Rem, right? They slap these so boring bad units, and they just win by standing there. This is the game Epic 7 wants. They don't want you playing the game. Actually, they want you to play the animation. You just do nothing, and your units will win for you. That is the whole point. You have to go through 2 layers of immortality. You have to go... It's not enough to reset the enemy. Laya exists, so on and so forth, right? It's just the game plays itself so much that player agency doesn't matter. It's just a gear check every single time. And so we as players got frustrated from enemy spamming Conquer Lilius. What did we do? We built Moon Bunny. Okay, Moon Bunny was nice, but now that Conquer Lilius is no longer relevant, what do? Actually, to deal with ML Politis, you either outspeed her with a Ron Jacko or something, right? Or, just build a 310 speed, what was it? A 310 speed... What Karen were you? Last piece Karen. Just build her full speed and just one-shot the thing. Just get the exclusive equipment that removes stealth and just one-shot the Politis. Gee, how could I not have thought of that? Just one-shot the Politis, bro. Just one-shot the Politis before she uses her S3. It's so lame. It genuinely is. And the reason I didn't even use this unit is because I couldn't get enough imprints in time. And lo and behold, she's been power crept before I could even get the imprints to use her normally. This is crazy. It's so frustrating because if there's no point pre-building units anymore, you have to build it immediately before it's gone because it will never come back. And when it does come back, it's no longer the same unit. Like Ice T Win, I loved this guy. This man was my man. I used to use him in story. I used to love using him in PvP. And oh, he's anti-stun, sleep, fear. You know the problem? He sucks against Mortellix. He sucks against ZDR. He sucks against many of the sleep and stun units because the sleep and stun units don't even touch you. They just leave you be, right? DDR uses S3, sleeps your backline. Well, unfortunately, Ice T-Win can only use his S2 after the back ally has been attacked. When Chuno is relevant, she sleeps the entire team. Whoop! Haha, too bad. I have to attack the backline sleeping unit to activate Ice T and S2. Wait a second. If you get attacked while slept, you wake up. So Ice T doesn't even use his S2. And so it's so annoying. It's genuinely annoying. And then you come to Lydica. S2 has been changed. I loved old Lydica, but her personality is just gone. This S2, for every target, increases combat readiness of the caster of 25%. So not only can you not draft evade units, because it doesn't matter, not only does she not even need crit, she just uses S2. I'm sorry, bro, 100% CR. What are you gonna do about it? Like, gone are the days where you at least needed to crit your target for CR. Gone are the days where you actually have to land a successful hit. It's not enough, bro. At this point, what they should have done is just give her an extra turn on S2. Like, genuinely, this is the game. This is the balancing of the game. Don't play the game. The game plays itself for you. The same problem happened with Nako. She S3's S2, entire kit used. Ron S2, S3, entire kit used. Lua uses S2, S3, entire kit used. And so on and so forth. Recumar Rowana, they buffed her the dumbest buff I've ever seen in my life. You know, back then she was countered by immunity. She was countered here and there. However, now she dispels buffs, uses S3, resets everyone. True damage, by the way. You can't stop that. And so Rowana, if the frontline unit is Zeo, who ignores an entire mechanic, which is speed, right? If Zeo's always guaranteed first turn, or at least majority of the time, the only time you outspeed a Zeo is if your gear is broken while the Zeo's gear is bad, right? Anyways, if we reach a point where... Actually, no. So Zeo bypasses a mechanic. He uses S2, S3, right? He starts the game with his S2, obviously. Rowana gets 100% CR push, and there you go. She used her entire kit first turn without even trying. How many times am I going to repeat? It's so annoying. It is what it is. Evade has gotten so crazy, they had to give this man increased hit chance. Removes focus just for Afternoon Soak Flan. And they realized, wait, Eligos isn't enough. Ludica isn't enough. We create a new Huayang. We created a new Huayang. Oh my god, I cannot. Again, we go back to the previous topic. They keep creating end-alls, be-alls. You can no longer just pick speed units, right? Speed units used to be fun because they used to not just be cleave, they used to also be anti-cleave. You know what I mean? Back then, you could pick a very fast unit to prevent the enemy from doing such things. Because what were the primary cleave units? They were Fludica, doesn't have the highest base speed, so at least you can catch her off guard. There used to be, what was it? Bizarre, doesn't have the highest base speed, so on and so forth. These cleave units weren't the fastest, so the faster units used to be anti-cleave, and this is the problem. Zeo released good anti-cleave because he stops Conquer Lilius. Like, sure, he killed speed contesting overall, right? Gone are the days you pick a Kise and go first turn. Gone are the days you pick a fast Sid or a fast Ace Sid or a fast Assassin Coley or something of that sort, right? Gone are the days where you just pick a fast unit, hoping maybe you can gear diff the enemy. Nope. Zio exists. Nope. Harsetti exists. Nope. MLPera exists. Nope. Ron exists. Nope. Now Jacko exists. Jacko straight up converted Zio from anti-cleave into a cleave unit. Like, this unit, just by its passive existing, can turn fast units into cleavers without them even intending to be cleavers. And you have the Great Mortellix, who just by standing there completely negates a playstyle. ML Landy isn't a real unit anymore. Euphine isn't a real unit anymore. Like, they pre-banned the Great Mortellix, but then after they pre-banned the Great Mortellix, well, I don't know, Chief. I genuinely forgot. How do you deal with counter units? But, like, it's not looking very optimistic for me personally. So while I do like everything they keep doing, in terms of, actually, no, I don't like everything they do. But, like, as far as PvP is concerned, the players don't want to change. Unfortunately, this is what the developers want. Release broken units that play the game by themselves, who have undispellable buffs as always. Of course, why would they have dispellable buffs? The whole point of the effectiveness stat, effect resistance is so bad, and ignore ER is so bad. We have to keep making units with these undispellable buffs. And yeah, this is it. This is life, I guess. Just deal with it, bro. And the players don't want to change. And I don't blame them. I physically cannot play the game without using a 297 speed Ron. If they pick Ron, I instant lose. There is nothing in my account able to stop I cannot stop the enemy from cleaving me because I'm so committed to cleave. You know what I mean? And this is the issue. Like, let's look at this piece. I came back to Epic 7 just to make this video, right? And I realized, oh, they reworked the entire game. And so I gear up a unit, Crow, I level up some gear, and I level up this piece. Wow, it rolled twice into attack? No way! Amazing piece, am I right? Now imagine if this rolled into the relevant stats, crit damage, crit chance, speed, whatever it may be, right? Maybe, just maybe, I might be able to gear Pavel. Maybe I'll be able to gear some fast units or something. But the reality is no. The only two units I have who will always be my fastest units is going to be Ron and it's going to be Zio. And this is a slow Zio, by the way. It's not even the fastest Zio. It barely outspeeds 300 speed. And that's the sad part. This unit literally bypasses a rule. He starts with CR, and my gear isn't enough. I need giga strong gear to make this man outspeed 320 speed. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Gear quantity in this game is just unreal. Like, sure, you can gear many units at a time, but as I said, back then, you could get away with above average gear. Now you need the optimal gear to function as intended. If you do not have the optimal gear, you may as well not use a unit. Okay, but actually, Moon Bunny is really good into Conqueror Lilius, so you should always have a Moon Bunny geared. Yes, that's the issue. If you have a Moon Bunny geared up for Conqueror Lilius in 2025, that's your ideal scenario. You can get away with using above average Dominion gear because she just invalidates Conqueror Lilius. You see what I mean? You can get away with an above average Gala Lilius because she's sniping a Benya or an ML Haste, who is the person she's supposed to counter. You can get away with an above average Genua in sniping Abyssal Euphine, because that's the character he's supposed to snipe. You can get away with an above average Mortellix and kill whatever counter units exist, because that is his ideal scenario. You can get away with so many things in the ideal scenario. But how many times is the ideal scenario going to play? Especially as you fall off into irrelevance. When will Conqueror Lilius find an ideal scenario? Oh, wait, I'll tell you what's her ideal scenario. She's gonna S3, give everyone vigor buff, just so Emil Khawazu can get an ignore ER on his S3. You know, it's depressing. It's depressing. That's just the reality of the situation. And so I leave you with that. Really, Smallgate sucks. The creators, the content creators of Epic 7 have really stagnated and showed their age. New strategies don't work because you have to grind. Understand, every time an Epic 7 content creator uses a new unit, it wasn't instant. They had to take gear from a previous unit and just throw it on a new unit. They had to take whoa. They had to take their coward gear, throw it to Pavel. They had to take Pavel gear, throw it to the next speed attack unit, so on and so forth. So your old favorites don't work anymore, and you have to spend time building all these units. But at the end of the day, you know, old gear won't always translate to new units, so you have to grind more gear. And in my case, I keep rolling such stupid pieces, I barely get to use them. I mean, what is this? It rolled effectiveness, crit chance, speed. Where am I going to use that? Actually, it's not the worst. Could be usable. Well, we got health, attack, speed, crit chance. Actually, I won't complain. These level 88 pieces are really good. But like, you scroll down, you have so many pieces that just exist in limbo. The reasonable Epic 7 player would burn all of these. Except I don't, because I'm stupid. But God forbid, you know, God forbid. You have to burn half your pieces when they brick. You have to find exceptions to use some of these pieces. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, it's just yikes. Like, for example, let's look at this piece. I consider it a good piece, except who uses this anymore? It's a level 70 piece. 11 speed, has HP attack, crit chance. It's like, okay, it's bad. I should probably burn it so I can make space for other gear. But you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna forever keep it. So I will also keep this, I will also keep this, I will also keep this. I'll keep the super giga old gear I refuse to burn because, I don't know, fear of missing out? No, not quite the opposite. It's just you just, I don't know, just something feels wrong if I burn these, if I get rid of these. You can tell if I own a house, I'm gonna hoard that house. Unfortunately. It is what it is. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Whatever it may be. Goodbye.